All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you to our stream. This is your host of the evening, DJ Just Jay with Just Dimes ENT. We represent the Soto podcast because we advocate for children first. We're going to talk about this little boy right here with that amazing smile. Looks like he would light up a room. We've had a very tragic accident, and we're going to talk about that thing, not only as prevention, but we're going to talk about it because I think that we need to get some things clear about where we should stand as far as this particular case. That little boy's name is Riley Taylor. He was age 4 years old, and he died Saturday after authorities said that his dad, his father's name is Alexander Taylor. He's 26 years old. Christopher Alexander Taylor. Okay, he's 26 years old, and his father left him in his vehicle, in his car, for several hours while he worked in St. Paul's Lowerton area. Okay, now that is in Minneapolis. I'm not sure how far away that is from St. Paul or whatever the case is, but nonetheless, not from St. Paul, but there's a couple other areas. You'll see it here in a minute when I read the story. But anyway, he ended up leaving his son in the car, and then when he came back, he discovered that his son was not in very good health condition, and so he ran into Regions Hospital carrying his son at about 5:35 p.m. Saturday, seeking medical attention for the boy after he discovered him to be unresponsive inside his Dodge Journey. That's according to the second-degree manslaughter charge that was filed Monday in Ramsey County District Court. So they are taking a very harsh stance on this. I understand it because you guys know when we speak on these things, we always tell people that you have to start thinking about the children's well-being first. There is nothing more important than the children. There's nothing you have to do. There's no place you have to go. There's nothing you have to do except making sure that that child is taken care of first. That is your first and main responsibility, okay? Now, the medical staff that was there when he got there pronounced him officially he had passed away, okay? The outside temperature, I want you guys to understand, the outside temperature was 70 degrees when Riley was found. And while additional testing is underway, Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office determined his probable cause of death was hypothermia. Did you guys catch that? I'm going to explain something that even I didn't know about hypothermia, because I thought that hypothermia is just whenever you just get really cold and you have an incident, right? But apparently that is not the medical definition of hypothermia, because it could be an extreme, either hot or cold from my understanding. I'm going to read it to you. It says that hypothermia occurs when the body's heat regulating mechanisms don't work effectively. Older age, certain illness and medications increase the risk of developing hypothermia. So a temperature of 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius or higher is life-threatening, okay? Confusion, nausea, or vomiting, and rapid breathing are some symptoms. It is critical to move a person with hypothermia to a cooler place and seek emergency care. That is one of the definitions that I pulled up, but it says the condition of having a body temperature greatly above normal. Okay, so that's the actual definition. Yeah, hyper. Thank you. So hyper. Okay, hold on. You hold on. Let me look. We need to find that out. It says okay, hyperthermia. Okay, let me see. Let me check hypothermia. What is that? Okay. Mr. Stram, he pointed that out. Okay, here we go. So they said this kid suffered from hyperthermia, Hyper. I didn't even realize there was a difference. Hyperthermia is when you're too hot. Hypothermia is a medical emergency that occurs when your body loses heat faster than it can produce heat, causing a dangerously low body temperature. So hypothermia is too cold. Hyperthermia is too hot. So even I learned something today. Just saying. So hyper is cold. Hyper is hot. Hypo is cold. Let me move on before I confuse my own damn self, okay? Now, Oh, the outside temperature was 70 degrees. And while additional testing is underway, they determined his probable cause of death to be hyperthermia, which is too hot. Now, police say Taylor was working for a vendor for this thing called Grill Fest, GRILLFEST, which rented out CHS Fieldhouse for Saturday and Sunday. Now, what is Grill Fest? Apparently, this is a festival that they have in Minneapolis where they come and cook a lot of food. I'm not really sure of exactly what they do, but it's a lot of food, a lot of hanging out and stuff like that. So they have a lot of vendors there, so they're going to need a lot of workers. Well, he was one of the workers. They didn't specify which particular vendor he worked for, okay? I'm sure there's a reason for that. But nonetheless, he was one of the vendors. He was working. I could even respect the fact that he wasn't on some bull crap. He wasn't on some BS. So it wasn't like we've talked in a lot of stories, he wasn't going to the club. He wasn't going to the bar. He wasn't going over his friend's house to smoke and drink. He wasn't going on some BS, okay? He went to work a job. But I'm going to throw a dynamic out there here in a minute. So we're going to take our pen. We're going to bookmark that part of the story. We'll come back to it. Let me finish telling you the story. Now, Taylor initially told officers he brought his son into the park with him at the beginning of his shift and only returned for the boy to the vehicle around 2:45 p.m. because his son was tired, okay? Now, he said he placed his son in the car at that time with a blanket and a game and cracked the window before returning back to work. And that's according to the criminal complaint because that's what he reported. Now, when he returned about 3 hours later, 3 hours, he found his son, quote unquote, stiff and rushed him to the hospital. Officers later interviewed some of Taylor's co-workers who told them Taylor never left during his work shift. And that's according to the complaint, which is going to be something that they're going to use against him straight up and down. Okay. Now he's not going to be able to get around that. The boy's mother told police that he picked up their son around 2:30 a.m. Saturday because she said she had to go to work early that morning, according to the complaint. She said their son was fine at the time. The information prompted authorities to interview Taylor a second time. That's when Taylor admitted that he left his son in the car his entire shift, which began at about 11:30 a.m. Saturday and ended shortly at 5 p.m. That's just flat out irresponsible. So if he ever hears this, Alexander Taylor, bro, that's just flat out irresponsible. That's inexcusable. And I'm sorry, you absolutely deserve to be spanked legally for what you did. That's inexcusable. This is a small 4-year-old boy, your son. You love him. You go check on him at least if you're going to do something like that. I'm thinking about, not only do you not put your son in that position, let me say that, you don't put your son in that position, but if nothing else, if you're going to do that, then at least go check on him. I'm sure everybody in the chat can admit to that, right? That would at least be something you could do to lessen how bad this is. Maybe somebody would have felt a little more sympathy if you would have at least went to go check on your damn son. My God. You're right. That is just flat out ignorant. Very ignorant, okay? Now, he said he couldn't find anyone to watch his son. Now, this is where we're going to take our pen out from the book where we bookmarked it, and we're going to talk about some of this, okay? So if you guys would, we'll take a pause. Please hit the thumbs up. It'll share our stream as well as letting other people know that we're live, okay? So just click the thumbs up. Look down. If you haven't clicked it, just click it. Help your boy out. That'll bring more people to our stream, okay? Now, Taylor told police he couldn't find anyone to watch his son while he worked, so he brought him along and left him in the car. That's what the charges say. Now, for any of my parents out there, we've all, including myself, we've all been in situations, like I'll give you guys an example. Where I live at out here, I don't have any family and I barely have any friends out here because I kind of moved to an area where I'm kind of secluded. I'm by myself out here. My daughter's mom came to visit. This was years ago. It was years ago, okay? And I remember my daughter's mom got sick. I had to take her to the hospital. So while taking her to the hospital, I had to leave her there. But in turn, I had to be at work. So even I can admit, where I was working at, I was able to at least let my daughter stay in the break room. But I'm going to tell you, like every 15 minutes or so, even though I had other coworkers helping me out to go check on her and stuff like that, make sure everything was okay. You know, she had food, she had water, she had cartoons, bathroom was right there, all of that good stuff. And my daughter was big enough at the time to be able to kind of manage herself in that situation. And I even brought her out to the floor for a little bit with me. But we've all been in situations as parents where we've had to do some things or try to find some situation, find somebody to watch our kid or something like that. I understand how difficult that can be. Totally understand that to an extent. But to just not go check on your son, sorry. Even if you did lose your job, even if you did get reprimanded or whatever the case is, bro, you got to let them people know your son out in the damn car. Like, you care more about not getting fired from this job than your son dying? I'm sorry. Like, we're going to take that on. We're going to take that lump. Okay? We're going to take getting written up. We're going to take potentially losing that job if we have to. You deal with that later. I think you will live to see another day. But not checking on your son, now you've caused him to not be able to be here anymore. Highly irresponsible, flat out inexcusable, okay? Now, people under the age of 21 were not allowed into Grill Fest, okay? But organizers were not aware that a child was anywhere near CHS Field because he didn't say anything. He didn't give them an opportunity to try to help him figure it out. All them people out there, I can guarantee you that if they knew that it was life and death like that, that's a life and death situation. Somebody, all of them benevolent white people out there, as much as they give to these GoFundMes, do y'all not think that somebody would have pitched in to help this beautiful little boy with this beautiful little smile, and somebody would have helped out if you would have just opened your mouth and said something? Especially when they know what you're trying to do, and that's go to work. There's so much other stuff that these black men that look just like him could have been doing. When people look at his book and they judge him and they say, well, he looks like the typical hood kind of dude with the braids, with the dark skin, probably a sizable character. You look at him, and if you judge that book by its cover, you might think that maybe he's not such a reputable person. You open your mouth and you tell people that all I'm trying to do is work and take care of my son. I can guarantee you somebody out there would have helped him. Guarantee it. And I can guarantee you, especially with this practically being a 99% white event, sorry, I'm going to throw it out there. I think that overall, the majority of these people that you see out there would have helped out without question. Maybe they would have even paid for his damn daycare or something. Nonetheless, let's move on, okay? Marketing and Public Relations Manager for Green Springs Media, which owns Grill Fest, her name is Katie Hickman, said they were unaware that there was a child anywhere near CHS Fieldhouse, okay? Now, Taylor told police he didn't think that it would be that hot out there at the time, adding that he had did it once before about a year ago and nothing bad happened on that occasion. Now, he acknowledged in that instance he left the window all the way down. Taylor's vehicle was parked in an area that was entirely exposed by the sun. Medical staff found no signs of trauma on Riley's body, meaning that he didn't beat him up or hit him or anything, but noted signs of decomposition after being exposed to the heat for several hours was present. Now, Taylor denoted that his son in a Facebook post when the boy turned 4 last August, writing he was blessed with an unstoppable bundle of happiness and joy that this little guy brings to the world every day. He shows me the thrill and joy of being a father to guide him through life. Now, you guys have watched, we've talked about people's things that they write on their Facebook pages, and sometimes they write some stupid stuff on Facebook. I like the fact that they brought that out, that he did post something that was very, very positive and very loving about his son, okay? Now, after Riley's death on Saturday, police arrested Taylor and he was booked into Ramsey County Jail. He has no criminal history on his record, and that's according to Minnesota court records. Now, Taylor was denied a public defender at his first court appearance Monday afternoon. His bail was also set at the hearing at $25,000. Now, I'm curious as to why they denied him a public defender if he needed this job so bad. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong in the chat. He needed this job so bad that he risked his son's life. So what makes you think that he has money to be able to hire a private attorney? Oh, there is a GoFundMe, Rick. Rick Rooster, there is a GoFundMe. We're getting ready to talk about that here in just a moment, okay? Now, this situation came to light after the event, Hickman said, and at this point, our condolences are with the family and assisting with the ongoing investigation. Now, as far as cars becoming like a greenhouse, a national nonprofit, kidsandcars.org, I'm going to say that again, kidsandcars.org, kidsandcars.org, so that's all one word, .org, says 2018 was the worst on record nationally for children dying in hot cars. There were 52 incidents, according to Janet Fennell, the organization's president and founder. Now, Riley's death is the 5th this year of a child who suffered a heat stroke after being left in a vehicle in the United States. 5 children died in hot vehicles in Minnesota between 2001 and 2013. If you ask me, that's too many, period, because it shouldn't happen. Inside the vehicle, it heats up very quickly, and children have died in cars even when the temperature outside was in the 50s. Okay? Now, based on Saturday's temperature, outside temperature in St. Paul, the temperature in the vehicle could have reached about 110 degrees, even though it was 70. Because the longer that it sits in that car and the longer that that sun beams down, it raises that temperature significantly every single minute. So it could have been about 110 degrees, and that's depending on various factors. And they said that people need to understand that a car is like a greenhouse. A car is like a greenhouse, and the temperature goes up very, very quickly. And cracking a car's windows cracking the windows open doesn't always stop the inside of the car from reaching maximum temperature. In 55 and 60% of the instances of fatalities in hot cars, they happened because a parent or caregiver forgot the child in the car, and that's according to kidsandcars.org. And at least 13% of children are knowingly left in vehicles, but it's rare to almost never that someone does this on purpose to harm the child. We understand that. So it was not done on purpose. Totally understand that. Now, we're getting ready to show you guys the video here in just a moment. So I'm going to give you guys the fair usage, but I'm going to say something really, really quick. Maybe I'll wait for it. I'll wait for it. I've talked enough. Let's go ahead and show the fair usage. And then I'll give my point of view here in just a moment. So let's go ahead and give the fair usage. Let me turn it up a little bit so y'all can hear it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Thank you very much. And let me give a shout out real quick to the people that have contributed to our platform today. And I want to say thank you first to Mr. Stram. He's right there in the chat, brother. Thank you not only for donating while we've been offline, but even when we're online, he's always showing support. And I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, brother. I appreciate that. Let me also say thank you to one other person who took the $10 challenge. And that person knows who they are. They like to remain anonymous. I get it. Let me give a shout out to my sister in the chat. That's Lyric Speaks. And she gave me a hey DJ with some heart emojis. That is awesome. Lyric Speaks, my sister. You know I love you and I'll help you anytime you need me to. I'm here for you. I want to give a shout out also to my brother Jimmy D, who took the $2 challenge. So shout out to Jimmy D in the chat. And also want to give another shout out to JoJo in the chat. JoJo's been very, very consistent here. And I want to say thank you. Said love the show. Thank you, JoJo. Took on the $3.50 challenge. That's awesome. So we got 3.5, 2, 5, 10, and 5. And I think we got one while we were offline, but we'll read those here in a minute. We also got one cash out from Jessica N. Dennis. She is in the chat, and she said, hashtag children first, took the $5 challenge by way of Cash App. That is so dope, man. Thank you, guys. Let's go ahead and show the video.
In 20 minutes. That is how long it takes for the temperature in your car to spike to 99 degrees when it's just 70 degrees outside.
And that's how a 4-year-old boy died Saturday. He was left in that hot car for hours. Jessica Miles is live in St. Paul to tell us what happened. Jessica.
Yeah, guys, police say this is absolutely heartbreaking, but it is also completely preventable. A father who came here to work at CHS Field on Saturday left his young son in that hot car all day.
It's never safe to leave a young child in a car unattended, especially on a hot day, especially when the sun's out. And this is just a tragic reminder of that fact.
26-year-old Christopher Taylor is now facing second-degree manslaughter charges. He told police he couldn't find anyone to watch his son, so left him in his SUV from 11:30 a.m. until 5:15 p.m. while he worked at CHS Field.
At one point he did say that he had cracked a window, but even so, he said it was maybe a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, and that's just not enough.
When Taylor went back to his car at the end of his shift, he told police his son was stiff and there was no pulse. It was roughly 70 degrees on Saturday, and experts say after several hours at that temperature, the inside air temperature could have been around 130 degrees, with a person in direct sunlight significantly hotter. Police say the car was in direct sun with no shade whatsoever.
The inside of the car, even when the father got to the hospital, was very warm. Actually described as hot.
Taylor did rush his son to the hospital, but there was nothing doctors could do. The criminal complaint stating his little body was already showing signs of decomposition.
This is entirely preventable, and it's 100% a tragedy.
Now, this is the 5th young person to die in a hot car nationwide this year. It is the first in Minnesota in 6 years. Taylor was in court today. He is now being held on $25,000 bail. He will be back in court on Friday afternoon.
All right, so today is Monday, so he's got 4 more days before he's got to be back in court. I hope that they can get him a public defender. I don't know why they denied him, but I'm going to tell you guys something here. After I show these videos, and then yes, decomposition. You heard that right. Yes. He did that on purpose. Nathan, no, I don't. Bringing his son to work was purpose. Yes. Leaving his son and not checking on his son is purpose. Yes. But as far as, it's hard to say. I feel where you're coming from because you can't make any excuses for this. It caused your son to die. It caused your son to die. That means his skin was probably coming apart because of the heat. You got to remember, this baby was only 4 years old. But I'm going to tell you guys something right after this is over, and I want you to tell me if your opinion changes when I tell you what I got to tell you. But I'm going to play the rest of these videos first, then I'll say that, okay? Let's go ahead and start the next video.
A father's decision tragically ended up costing him his young son's life.
Christopher Taylor of Apple Valley is expected.
Okay, let me pause it. You said, how old is he? He is Christopher Alexander Taylor. The father is 26 years old. His son, Riley Taylor, was 4 years old.
Ended up costing him his young son's life.
Christopher Taylor of Apple Valley is expected back in court later on this week after he was charged with manslaughter for allegedly leaving his 4-year-old son Riley in a hot SUV for hours at CHS Field on Saturday. Ashley Zilka's here this morning with what happened and how one organization is working to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Ashley.
Good morning. The investigation started when Christopher Taylor rushed his son, who was unconscious and stiff, to the hospital Saturday. When questioned repeatedly by police, Taylor eventually admitted to leaving his son in the SUV.
4 years old, not 4 months, 4 years. So Arnie Jordan, 4 years old, not 4 months, 4 years.
It's never a good idea. It's never safe to leave a young child in a car unattended, especially on a hot day, especially when the sun's out. And this is just a tragic reminder of that fact.
Taylor told police.
Rick Rooster said it about as best as I can say it. He didn't do it with intent to kill his son. It was just a really irresponsible parent who had no business caring for the child. Straight up. Because anybody that is a responsible parent would not have did what he did.
He could not find anyone to watch his son, so he brought the boy with him to his job. The father said he left Riley in the parked SUV with a video game in a window cracked. Police said the Dodge Journey was parked in the direct sunlight with no shade. Taylor came back to his car more than 5 hours later, and his son was not breathing.
Let me say thank you real quick to the $5 challenge. That's Antoinette supporting the platform. If you're in the chat, say something to me. Thank you very much.
The medical examiner said Riley's body reached more than 104 degrees and could not cool down. Plus, Riley could not get out on his own.
We know the temperature probably increased by at least 40 degrees. So you're at 110 degrees, and then at that level for several hours, the little one didn't have a chance.
Taylor also told investigators he did not think it was that hot, and he had done this before and nothing bad happened. The last time a Minnesota child died from heat stroke in a vehicle was in 2013. Chris?
Ashley, thank you.
A father's decision.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next video. These are all really short, but I just want to kind of give you guys a well-rounded view of what happened.
According to the criminal complaint, Christopher Taylor told police he left his 4-year-old son in the car as he worked an event at CHS Field because he didn't think it was that hot.
Is something that's completely preventable.
Andy Roland Fisher, a Hennepin healthcare emergency physician, says it's a common misconception.
People don't realize that temperatures can rise that high, that quickly, on days that don't feel that warm outside.
Take today, sweater weather, hazy sun, a little breeze, temperature around 60 degrees. A car in a parking lot, a stopwatch, and a thermometer. We'll speed up the video to compress time while keeping an eye on that stopwatch. At 11.5 minutes, the inside of the car is up 30 degrees to 90 on a 60-degree hazy day. Saturday.
And I want you to keep in mind, I'm going to rewind that so y'all can hear it again. Think about how many hours, not minutes. Think about how many hours this boy was left in that car. He was left in there for hours, and look how much this temperature rose just within minutes. Listen to this again.
Side of the car is up 30 degrees to 90 on a 60-degree hazy day.
And wow. In that short amount of time.
Compressed time while keeping an eye on that stopwatch. At 11.5 minutes, the inside of the car is up 30 degrees.
11.5 minutes. It rose 30 degrees. So imagine how hot that car got. And that little boy was in there for hours. So my brother, Mr. Strand, was asking about the decomposition. So if the temperature can go up 30 degrees within 11 minutes, and if he was left in there for, yep, thank you, Steve, cooked him, literally cooked him. And it was probably cooking his skin. Probably cooked his skin off. That's just unthinkable, man. Unthinkable. Yeah, thank you. That's why I'm trying to put this in a proper perspective. 11 minutes. And this baby was left in there for hours.
To 90 on a 60-degree hazy day.
On a 60-degree hazy day, keep in mind, it was 10 degrees hotter at Grill Fest. This baby literally was grilling in the car. It was 10 degrees hotter than what he just demonstrated. So put that in a proper perspective.
Saturday's death in St. Paul marks a dubious distinction.
This is the 800th pediatric vehicular heat stroke case that we've documented going back to 1998.
Jan Null tracks heat-related deaths of children in cars on his website, noheatstroke.org, a meteorologist who's extensively studied the subject.
70-degree sunny day in St. Paul on Saturday. What likely was the reading in that car?
It would have been probably approaching 120 degrees.
120 degrees. I want y'all to imagine how hot it is when it's 80 and 90 degrees outside. And he's talking about it could have been 120. But we're not talking about this baby being in there for minutes. Remember, he's been in there for hours unchecked. Think about that.
A 70-degree day.
On a 70-degree day, yes.
Knoll says fewer than 20% of children who die of heat in cars are knowingly left there by caregivers. 26% gain access to cars on their own, while more than half are forgotten in cars by caregivers. But what about that window left open just a bit? Jen Knoll studied that too. The effects, he says, are negligible, just 2 to 3 degrees difference. By the way, late this afternoon, Knoll learned of another child's death in New Jersey. 801.
I gotta just hope that that baby passed out, and I hope to God that that baby didn't suffer, man. I just hope that maybe he passed out and he didn't know what happened. I just hope he just passed out. This is the last video. Again, if you guys would, please click the thumbs up. It'll at least honor the memory of Riley Taylor, age 4 years old, and it'll also share this story as well. So if you guys would, just click that thumbs up. We're about to wrap up here in just a moment, okay? And I'm going to read you guys a little bit of something that might make you change your mind if you guys are committed to throwing this father away in jail and locking the key and hiding the key. You might change your mind after I say what I'm about to say. So stay tuned for that.
The father actually showed up at Regions Hospital and carried the child inside.
St. Paul police say 26-year-old Christopher Taylor's son was unresponsive. He was not breathing and did not move.
He told the officers who were at the scene that he thought his son was dehydrated. He had left him in a car for a short period of time.
Doctors could not save the child. Taylor told police he and his son had gone to Grill Fest at CHS Field in Lower Town, St. Paul Saturday morning around 11:30.
Initially, he said that he had brought his son to work with him and had watched him for a while. And then after a certain amount of time, his son was tired, so he brought him back to the vehicle, put him in the vehicle, cracked the window, and then went back to work for just a few hours.
Police spoke to Taylor's co-workers. They told officers Taylor never left during his shift. The father from Apple Valley later told officers what really happened.
The father told us that the child had in fact been in the vehicle all day while he had been at work, so at least 5 hours.
According to the criminal complaint, the lot where Taylor parked his car was entirely exposed to the sun. Taylor told officers he didn't think it was that hot. Taylor said he had done it once in the past about a year ago, and nothing bad happened to the boy on that occasion.
Doesn't matter if the sun is direct or not. The tire temperature goes up 3 degrees every 5 minutes. So that's almost 40 degrees in that first hour. So if it was a 65-degree day, in the first hour that car was over 100 degrees.
Keep in mind, he was out there for a whole lot longer than that.
Trauma specialist for Hennepin Healthcare, Julie Philbrook, says you should never leave a child in a car unattended.
Kids aren't able to regulate their temperature, and so even just a little bit of rise can cause their core temperature to go to a point where it's just too hot for them to survive.
Reg Chapman, WCCO 4 News.
All right, guys. So here's the part where I'm going to talk about the father, and I want you guys to tell me, we're going to make a judgment. We're going to judge how much time he should get, guilty, not guilty. I want to know what you guys think, because you guys might have already made your judgment on what you think about this father, okay? So what I'm getting ready to do is I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of information that maybe you didn't think about. I want you guys to think about this. First and foremost, I'm going to take a pause. Let me pause this video right here. I want y'all to look at this baby. This is Riley Taylor, age 4 years old. Does he not look like he was full of life? Does he not look like a fun kid? Looks like he loves to laugh. He looks like the typical 4-year-old kid. I remember when my daughter was 4 years old. Like I love every minute of being around my baby, but you know, I'm a true father, I'm a true parent. I know we got parents out there that it's just, man, when you love your kids, you love them with all your heart, and you'll do anything and everything for them, and you will block anything that you can to make sure that they don't experience any pain, any harm, any danger. I know we got some good parents out there. And you look at this face, and it's just like, that little boy looks so sweet, man. It really does. Very, very innocent. So it's a shame that we won't get a chance to see him grow up. But I will tell you guys this. We can use this as a cautionary tale, okay? To make sure that none of us put our children in these type of situations. And if you see a vehicle or a car and someone leaves kids in the car, I promise you guys, if you see something, say something. You never know whose life you might save. Don't think just because it's cold outside, it's 50 or 60 degrees, it's midway outside. That temperature can rise in that car very quickly. Call the police. Screw them parents for leaving them kids in that car, okay? If you see something, say something. I know I do, straight up, okay? Here's the part that I want you guys to think about. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't bust the window unless you are ready to suffer the repercussions, Miss June Bennett. Charla, you guys, no. Understand what I just said. Understand what I just said. You guys know that I'm a big person that I always tell you guys to follow the law. It is not legal for you. You're not going to go to jail or nothing for busting a window, but you don't want to have to pay the consequences if you're wrong. That's why I say if you see something, say something. But I will tell you guys this. Let me tell you guys this. If you're willing to step up and put yourself in potential legal danger and bust that window, I'm all for it, especially if you're doing it for a little boy or a little girl like this. You guys catch what I just said? Do it at your own risk, but please make sure that you make that decision with a clear head. And if you feel like you have no other choice, do it. But understand that you will have to suffer the repercussions of that. Larceny, destruction of personal property, that's absolutely right, because I don't want you guys to do it and then be like, oh man, yeah, this happened to me. Just understand that that also goes with it, okay? That also goes with it, okay? So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of minutia that you could get caught up in, but I just want to make sure that everybody that's listening to this, not just you guys in the chat, but everybody that's listening to this story, I want to make sure that everybody has a fair opportunity to make a clear, sound decision before they go into a situation like this, okay? What I want to know is, why didn't anybody want to help Riley Taylor? Why wasn't there someone out there that wanted to babysit Riley Taylor? His cousins, his female friends, his somebody, grandparents. Hashtag, where are the freaking grandparents? Can we get a hashtag? Where the grandparents at? Where's Granny? Hashtag, where's Granny? Hashtag, where's Pawpaw? Can we get one of those in the chat? Because I can't imagine that he made phone calls and everybody said, nah, you're just SOL. You're just shit out of luck. I can't see that happening. So either A, he didn't call anybody, or B, nobody cared. Okay? So that's the first thing I'm going to put out there to let you guys know what was probably going through his mind. Point number 2. He does deserve some sympathy, but he is still 100% responsible, brother. I'm sorry, but you have to deal with the fact that your son is not here because of a choice that you made. There's always that fork in the road, and if you make the wrong choice, then you deal with those consequences. That's what we do as citizens of the United States of America. All right? Now, there's another thing that I want you guys to think about that maybe none of you said. I didn't see any of you guys write this. What if, and all I'm asking is what if, this is pure speculation. What if child support played a role in this kid's death? Now, Just Jay, what do you mean? Here's the real point of what I'm trying to say. If y'all have watched Tommy long enough, then you know what I'm getting ready to say. Shout out to my brother Tommy Sotomayor. What if this father was feeling the threat and the pressure of potentially going to jail if he does not work and lose his job, and could lose his license, he could lose his house, he could lose his car, and he could do jail time behind child support? Therefore, he has this extra heavy burden on his back that he knows that he cannot miss work. He cannot be late for work. He cannot piss off a customer. He cannot call in to work. He absolutely has to be at work. Why do I say that? Because unmarried men usually are on child support that have children. Why? Because most women that we as men make the decision to sleep with these women outside of the confines of a pure relationship in the eyes of the law, which is marriage. Most of us are having babies outside of that. We know what the women are doing. They're having these children for the benefits that they can collect for these children. Hashtag babies for benefits. Oh, crap. Just Jay might get flaggy tonight. I just might get flagged for that one. Somebody said I didn't think about that. That's what we're here for. We're here to have these conversations, and what we want to do is we want to be fair. We want to speak up for the children, but all of these things that we talk about are always going to be in the best interest of the children. He could have been very well threatened into working and being forced to work and care for that child, and I think that's crazy, the fact that the mother said, dump this kid off on him. I want to find out if he is on child support, because if he is, then I think that's even crazier of the mom to say that I got to go to work. Now you go take this kid with you. And he's just like, wait a minute, what am I going to do with him now? And he's the one on child support. You guys have actually watched and heard people call in the Tommy show, and they've said that when the father watches the kid, the father is still paying child support. Did you guys remember that conversation with that lady that called into the show? They split custody, but the father is still paying the woman for child support, but yet the woman is not paying child support whenever the father is keeping that kid for the summer, for 3 months. That's ridiculous. So he's keeping the kid and paying child support to her, meaning that all she's doing is collecting the benefits from that baby and using it for her own self, using it to pay the rent, using it to pay for the light bill, like they like to say, using it to pay for things around the house that that person would have to pay for, even if they did not have a kid. Oh, crap. I just might get flaggy tonight. Flaggy party, flaggy party. It just might happen. Because we're speaking some things not only that are real, but we're continuing to do this thing to our own. We are our own worst enemies. We are our own worst enemies. These horrible relationships and the horrible way that we're bringing children into this world is doing us a disservice. It is hurting the kids. All it's doing is hurting the kids. You look at it like this man is in jail. This woman is over here living a baller's lifestyle off of this man's misery. And what's happening to the kids? Then the kids turn around, and when they get older, they turn around and continue to push this thing, and they perpetuate the same cycle that we're going through. Guys, it's not white supremacy, it's us. We set our own destiny for the men. You don't have to give your seed away. If you don't provide a seed, then there will be no fruit bearing from that tree. For my ladies, treat your body like a house, and you don't just let anybody inside of your house, right? If we learn to work together and take these relationships seriously, and we need to be mature from the moment that we cross the threshold of sexual activity or being grown in the eyes of the law, and we need to start taking more responsibility for our own actions. Brother, I'm sorry, but I think that says that you are going to have to suffer for what you did to your son. No excuse for it. So in my opinion, he is guilty. I don't think he should have to do life in prison, but I definitely think that he has to do some time in prison for this. It just should not have happened. There are some other elements that are probably contributing to this, but we've talked about that. Like I say, it's an ongoing thing, and all we're doing is hurting these kids. I want to say RIP to Riley Taylor. I hope to God that this baby did not suffer. He was 4 years old. He didn't deserve what he got. I admire this brother for at least being where you were supposed to be, bro. Okay? Alexander Taylor, Christopher Alexander Taylor. I respect the fact that he was at least at work. He could have been anywhere. At least he was at work. RIP to this beautiful baby boy. I wish we could have watched him and known, and I wish maybe even he would have survived. but his luck ran out because of his father's bad choices. Okay? So again, guys, if you see something, say something. Please be careful if you take actions into your own hands. So just know that, you know, you might have to deal with the repercussions of that, but just make sure that you guys make a calculated decision before you guys take action. But definitely make sure that you guys reach out and contact the authorities so that way that they can make sure that you guys know that that they're there and let them do their job, okay? This is your boy DJ Just Jay, like you can see from the t-shirt. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Soto Podcast. We're out. I think my brother Tommy will be live again, so guys make sure and check out the show. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're out on this story. If there are any other news updates that come out, we'll update you. Thank you guys so much for listening.